have you found that The Onion has been subject to the same ridicule that you guys have on social media, or
we're subject to ridicule?
You tell me. I mean, I went to pull up the Babylon Bee and it asked me if I was going to a dangerous site. So,
did it really? Yeah, we get a little bit of that. They have been they've been targeted with some criticism. They do get fact-checked some, the way that we've been fact-checked. I think, look, it's you see the same kind of bias at play here with comedy that you see in every area of life. It's, the mainstream media is really friendly to sources that agree with them. And I think, The Onion this is one of the topics we discussed in our interview with Elon Musk. He was talking about The Onion and how it's further left than we are right. It's very politically correct. Very politically correct. They hit all the jokes from the angle that you would expect them to hit them from.
More so today than it wasn't that way when it first started. They were a lot of speaking truth to power. I mean, the whole concept of comedy, for people that don't know, I mean, if you find yourself agreeing with the establishment as a comedian, you're a bad comedian. The idea of speaking truth to power. If people don't know who Lenny Bruce is, Lenny Bruce spent half of his career in jail for refusing to
for just cursing at that point.
Yeah, for lewd and fastidious behavior, talking about
50s,
sex.
Though,
yeah,
so that was very counterculture at that point.
But dude, before I left New York, man, I saw the tides turning, and I was like, man, this is not about being funny. This is about being on message. And then you saw people that were getting, fast-tracked. I'm not going to name names. You can really easily Google them and remember who they are. Their careers were getting fast. They were doing mics at the Village Lantern, and the next thing you know, they had Netflix specials because they were on message. And it was like, they're skipping 10 years here.
Well, now you got people like Chappelle who are doing Netflix specials and taking a lot of heat for it because they step outside the bounds of what they're supposed to be joking about, right? And I think that's what comedians should be doing. I think they should be making those jokes that nobody wants you to make.
Yeah.
And if you're censoring yourself.
No, but he's not. But the highest form of the art, he's right, though. The highest form of the art is saying things people don't want to hear in a way they can't stop listening.
Well, you might have texted what Steve Harvey had to say. Was that you? Was that you?
Yeah.
He basically saying Chappelle's the only person that can do this. Any person out there other than speaking of himself, he was talking about D.L. Hughley or Cedric the Entertainer or Kevin Hart. Exactly.
I will do one more special, and that's when I'm done with my career.
Because they're all reliant on sponsors.
Steve Harvey.
What's his point with that?
Steve, because I'm gonna let it fly, and then I'm gonna go away.
He can't do it right now because he's still trying to do stuff. So he's saying later on.
Yeah.
Okay.
But his whole point was, despite all the success I've had, despite all the money, despite all the power, despite all the fame, I'm beholden to sponsors.
Exactly. And where Chappelle has subscription with Netflix.
Exactly.
So Netflix is probably going to go after more comedians.
Look at Tim Dillon. Tim Dillon's the guy. Tim Dillon is a guy that
no relation to Seth or what?
No relation to Seth. Tim Dillon, Rogan on in a certain way. I mean, these
Marcelo
are guys,
opens for him.
You make yourself uncancelable by insulating you. But at the end of the day, it's the marketplace. Mm-hmm. If 90,000 people are willing to pay $4.99 a month for Tim Dillon, then all the sponsors can shove. He can say whatever he wants to say. Those people are supporting him.
It's one of the ways that we're independent is because we have a subscription platform. People can subscribe to support us. And so we don't have to worry so much about and this is the reason we launched it in the first place is because we were worried we were getting fact-checked on Facebook like crazy. They're rating our jokes false. They're giving our jokes a truth rating.
Yeah.
And then telling us jokes.
The whole point of jokes is they're supposed to be a little.
Have you ever gone down?
They don't have a truth rating. They're
exactly.
funny or they're not. They're not true or false.
Have you ever gone down the rabbit hole with who's fact-checking you? Because I got demonetized on Facebook, and I went down the rabbit hole and was looking at who fact-checked me. And you end up looking at it's like some bot out in Singapore that has no existence. It's like this person, and it's just an opinion. This person says that, what you're saying is false. I was like, it's satire.
Well, we found some of them. So I'll give you an example of one. We did a story on how Ruth Bader Ginsburg the Ninth Circuit Court had overturned the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. That was the headline, right? And it's kind of a silly, absurd headline. Obviously, you can't. How do you overturn somebody's death?
Exactly.
What does that even mean?
It's obvious it's a joke.
Did they resurrect her from the dead? Obviously, it's a joke. USA Today fact-checked it, rated it false. And if you scroll to the bottom of that fact check, it says it was paid for in part by grants from Facebook. So Facebook paid USA Today to fact check our joke and then send us a warning saying that we made a joke that was false. So it's kind of a circular thing where they're funding the whole system.
Let me ask you, Pat talks about, in the business planning workshop, that's where it really came to mind. He talked about finding an enemy, and that sort of motivates you to, double down on what you want to accomplish. And, Pat has some enemies that I'm sure he'll talk about vocally. Do you have enemies that you say, all right, I don't know if it's the Onion or if it's the establishment, if it's cancel culture, who's the Babylon Bee enemy? Who do you go against?
The enemy is anybody who's against free speech. The enemy is anybody who's trying to censor you. The enemy is anybody who's trying to pressure you to censor yourself so that you're not free to say what you think and why you think it. So, any comedian that censors himself in deference to the power that's trying to get him to censor himself is a joke himself, I think. And so comedians should be pushing back on that and making jokes, humorous, satirist.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.